Good afternoon. Welcome to a survey exhibition documenting a truly curious artist. How curious is he? Well, for one thing, he goes by a single name. For another, he is British born and enjoyed his first and perhaps greatest success in his native land. But he put that aside to live first in Australia and now among us in Los Angeles. For still another, he is well into his 10th decade of life and is as active in the studio as he ever was. And for yet another reason, he has realized the hybridization of artistic media and disciplines that seem impossible to hybridize. Trained in 2 and 3 dimensions, Alexander made his initial reputation as a sculptor. His large outdoor work was ubiquitous throughout Britain in the 1970s and 80s. His success was assured, and his career trajectory seemed set in stone in bronze and marble. But his restless mind wanted to move beyond the 3rd dimension into the 4th. His preoccupation with space could not confine itself to objects, much less images. The 4th dimension is conventionally defined as time, but Alexander's interpretation of it incorporates time, space, and light. As he moved from England to Australia in the 80s, he also transitioned from the obdurate materials of the sculptor to the ephemeral imagery of the experimental photographer, specifically the holographic photographer. He settled on holography as the ideal manifestation of time in space, and proceeded to explore the medium to an extent matched by few, if any, other serious artists. By the time of Alexander's last relocation to California at the end of the year 1980s, he was at once a painter, a sculptor, and a holographer, prone to integrate the disparate techniques through the superposition of volumetric structures. He has remained such over the last 30 years, amassing a fascinating, or perhaps we should say endlessly curious, body of work that bestrides aesthetics and confounds boundaries. The sculpture just dedicated at Oaks Christian School exemplifies Alexander's traditional sculpture, elegant and contemplative, and in this case, spiritually transcendent. Transcendence pervades this selection of holographic painting objects as well, but it is a somewhat different kind of transcendence. Rather than embodying the transcendence offered by faith and spirit, the works on view at the Civic Arts Plaza largely transcend the limitations of perception itself. They transcend what the eye tells you is there, and they transcend what the mind tells you can be there. They don't simply fool us, they expand our notion of the possible. This is what the study of physical science does, leading to the invention of, among other things, holography. This is what the study of stage and parlor magic does, leading to endless surprise at the tip of 10 fingers. And this is what art does, transforming materials and ideas into events that, no matter how static, open up possibilities of interpretation, not just symbolic interpretation, but experiential interpretation. What do you see happening? What do you see shaping? What do you see? And how does what you see differ, and how does it agree with what the next person sees? The 4th dimension in Alexander's hands is not simply a clock. It is an adventure. It is not time. It is what happens in time, and what shapes and colors and materials occur, appear, and metamorphose in time. And time itself is not just a linear experience for the eyes, going from point to point in an artwork or from artwork to artwork. It is a recurring experience within the holographic or even painted composition. It is an evolving experience that engages the push and pull between levels of substance, and it is a conceptual experience infusing everything with the potential for change. Thus, I advise you to go through this exhibit a little bit differently than you might through any art show. Do not look only at the surfaces. Do not look only at the designs. Do not just stare into the holograms. Focus in and then focus out again. Study the borders between media, where paint meets strands of metal, or the disembodied glow of ghostly images. Open up the seeming paradoxes Alexander poses and see how forms and materials that shouldn't work together do. Alexander has engaged the multiple skills and multiple levels of materiality to achieve something in time and space that things in time alone or space alone were not giving him. And he has given this fourth dimension to us. Maybe that is the most curious thing of all. Thank you. And may I present the artist to you, Alexander.
Very much. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Sorry it's so cold today. As all the works are here, or nearly all the works are here, there's not much point in me talking about them. They're available for you to look at. But there are a couple of things that I can say. One is rather surprising. I don't sit down and sketch to do these things. Every time there's a new work, it comes to me into my vision. It's there. I don't have to actually work on it. I might make changes and so on, but that's the way each one of these works has come. In fact, the very latest work that I did about a month ago is upstairs there, and it's a piece which is slightly taller than a cube, and there is a painting on each face of it. Now, as far as I know, that is, nobody's done that before, but this just came to me. It wasn't anything I actually created. It came into my brain. I started work on the second one early this morning, so there'll be another one following that. I think this is probably the most important thing, the way these artworks come to me. So I won't take up your time unnecessarily. And thank you all for coming to this tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, our thanks again to Peter Frank, our curator, to our artist, Alexander, and to Don Trimble and all of our friends at Oaks Christian for helping us to put this on. And thank you to all of you and the guests who've come before as well for joining us tonight and spending a part of your Sunday with us. Thank you.
Thank you.